Hello, English learners, and welcome back to this English podcast for another episode on the YouTube channel, Majy Talent English Podcast.
It's great to be here.
If you're new here, or, even if you've been with us for a while, please take a moment to subscribe. That way you'll never miss one of our deep dives into real-world communication.
Absolutely. It's excellent to have everyone with us. And today, we're doing something a little different. We're setting aside some of the bigger topics for a moment.
Right.
And we're going to do more of a precision dive, really focusing on the mechanics of everyday social language, the small stuff that's actually the big stuff.
Exactly. Our source material today is this fantastic, really well-structured English lesson. And he uses a situation that I think it gives everyone that sudden, awful feeling in your stomach.
Oh, I know the one.
You run into someone you're smiling, you're saying hello, and you realize their name has just, poof, vanished.
It's the worst. So the mission for you, the listener, is it's deeply practical this time. We are not just going to be listing definitions.
No, this isn't a vocabulary
No,
lesson.
not at all. We need to go much deeper. We're trying to pull out the essential strategy behind fluency, speed, and, the really critical thing here is the social tactics, the communication you use to instantly fix an embarrassing mistake.
So we're really looking at the architecture of how these rapid real-life conversations hold together, especially when you're under a bit of pressure.
That's it. So we're kind of getting under the hood of how native English speakers use language, not just to pass on information, but to manage and sort of soothe social awkwardness.
Language is a social lubricant, basically.
That is the core of it. And the context in our source dialogue is, it's perfect for this. It involves two people, Nick and Anna Ferris.
Yeah.
They'd met before in a professional setting, a conference, but now Nick just bumps into Anna in a totally casual place near his office.
So that difference in setting, that already creates a bit of tension, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Okay, so let's unpack this little drama. It's short, but you're right, every single line feels like it has a tactical purpose.
It does.
The scene opens with Anna spotting Nick, and she uses this greeting that's super casual, super fluent. She just says, "Nick, how's it going?"
And we'll definitely come back to that greeting later.
Oh, for sure. So Nick replies, and you can almost hear the surprise in his voice. He says, "Oh, hey, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Do you live around here?"
And that initial exchange, it's so functional. Nick is doing two things right away. First, he recognizes her face, and at this point, he still knows her name.
Right, the memory hasn't failed him yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
And second, he's establishing that they're out of their normal context. He's placing the interaction geographically, which is actually a really subtle way to build a connection.
And he immediately follows up by explaining why he's there. Actually, my office is right around the corner.
Which grounds the meeting. It gives a quick, easy reason for him to be in that spot. And then he solidifies the professional link between them.
Yeah, he says they met last week at the conference, and they talked about foreign investment.
And this is so crucial. That intellectual bridge, it buys him so much social credibility later on.
How so?
Well, even if the name starts to fail him, the fact that he remembers the topic and the setting, it sends a powerful signal.
It says, "I remember our important conversation. I value our professional connection."
Exactly. Even if my brain is being a bit faulty with the details right now, it's a huge thing.
But what's really interesting here is that Nick doesn't stay in that moment for long. He's clearly a busy guy.
Right. He pivots almost instantly from that little moment of memory to the practical need to end the chat. He's already setting up his exit.
And he uses one of those classic fluency phrases to rush things along.
Absolutely. Nick says, I'm in a bit of a hurry, but here's my card. We should definitely meet up again and continue our discussion.
Which is just a mini masterpiece of social navigation.
It really is. He's turning his lack of time into a proposal for a future better meeting. He gets to end the conversation, but he still sounds eager and respectful.
And the strategy of offering his card with his contact details, that is just a brilliant move.
It's so smart. It's doing several jobs at once. First, like you said, it makes his quick exit okay, because he's giving her something tangible for later.
It's a promise of future contact.
Right. And second, it subtly shifts the focus of the conversation onto his identity, his availability. But third, and this is the most important part for what's about to happen.
It's the perfect cover.
The perfect cover for the fact that he's about to admit a huge social fail.
I just want to pause on that feeling for a second. That lurch in your stomach when you know you have to confess you've forgotten something so basic.
It's a terrible feeling.
He has to deal with it head on. He can't just walk away, can he? not in a professional context.
No, that would be so much worse. It would seem dismissive. He has to address the elephant in the room.
Which brings us to, I guess, the moment of maximum social tension. Nick tries to wrap it up. Sure, you still have my contact details, right? And then he has to take the plunge.
He does.
He says, you know what, this is really embarrassing, but your name has just slipped my mind. Can you remind me? And that phrase, slipped my mind, it is doing so much work in that sentence.
So much heavy lifting. It's a moment of total vulnerability, especially for a professional. And this is where Anna's response. It's basically a masterclass in social recovery.
It really is. She could have been cold or made it awkward.
She could have made him feel terrible, but she chooses to be incredibly gracious. She just tells him, Anna Faris, and then immediately says this magic phrase, don't worry about it. It happens to me all the time. I'm terrible with names too.
And that right there, that is maybe the biggest fluency takeaway in this whole thing. It's not just what you say when you make a mistake, but how you react to someone else's.
Exactly. When she says, I'm terrible with names too, she instantly diffuses the whole situation. She turns Nick's personal failure into a shared, universal human problem.
It's a classic face-saving move, isn't it, from a social psychology standpoint?
That's precisely what it is. She's minimizing the threat to his ego, to his face, by normalizing the error. She's not saying you failed. She's saying the human mind is imperfect, and mine is too.
It creates instant empathy.
It's
brilliant. It's not just polite. It's a genuine strategy.
It really is. And, our source material makes a point of this. They repeat the dialogue at different speeds, fast, then slower, then natural.
Right.
Which just confirms that fluency isn't just knowing the words Anna said. It's about having the muscle memory to use them at the speed of a real conversation.
So that repeated exposure is what turns these phrases from just a list of vocabulary into something you can actually use automatically.
That's the goal. So let's pull some of these tools out and really look at how they're built, starting with Nick's hurried exit.
Okay, our first key phrase, in a bit of a hurry.
Yeah.
Nick uses this to justify cutting the conversation short, pivoting from a memory to a future meeting. It's just an incredibly useful phrase.
It is. The core meaning is simple, right? You don't have enough time. You need to move quickly. But what we need to analyze is the register. Why is I'm in a bit of a hurry so much better than, say, I have to go now?
Oh, it's so much softer. That little phrase, a bit of it softens the whole thing. I must go now. Sounds so abrupt, almost rude.
Dictatorial, even.
Yeah. And something like gotta run is really only for close friends. I'm in a bit of a hurry is that perfect middle ground for a professional acquaintance. It implies the urgency is real, but it's unfortunate, not intentional.
That is the essential insight. It lets you manage the situation without sacrificing social grace. Now, the source material gives 3 great examples that show its full range.
Okay, the first one shows direct urgency, where you're trying to get someone else to act. Can you drive faster? I'm in a bit of a hurry.
So your time crunch is directly affecting the situation, demanding action.
Right. And the second one is about deferral. It's about putting up a polite wall. Can't talk right now. I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Which is so important for setting boundaries. You're stating you're unavailable without having to give a whole long story about why. It's concise, it's efficient.
Totally. And the third example shows how it affects your own schedule, your own tasks. I'm in a bit of a hurry, so I'll check these files later.
So you see, it works whether you're talking to someone else, setting a boundary, or just organizing your own time. It's the go-to phrase for managing a time crunch.
And it just sounds so much better than the alternatives. If you say, I'm rushing, you sound chaotic.
Yeah, dude.
I'm pressed for time is a bit more formal, maybe for an email, in a bit of a hurry. Just hits that sweet spot.
All right, moving on to the next bit of functional language. Nick's whole strategy centers on giving Anna his contact details.
Right, and we can assume most of you listening know what contact details are. It's the basic info you need to get in touch with someone.
Exactly. So we don't need the dictionary definition. What we need to analyze is the context, when and why you use this specific phrase in a professional setting.
Mick offers his card, which is the most formal, standard way to do it.
And the source material lists what that usually includes. Name, phone number, email, maybe a mobile number. But when do you ask for details versus, say, just information or even info?
Good question. Contact details feels like the most professional and comprehensive term. It signals you're expecting the full package you need to make a connection.
Right. Contact information is fine too, but details feels a bit more standard in business speak.
And you'd never ask for contact info in a formal meeting. Info's just way too casual.
It really is. So the phrase itself is a kind of linguistic shortcut. It's so much faster and smoother than saying, can I have your name and your phone number and also your email address?
It's just one neat package. And in this specific scenario with Anna, exchanging details is vital because it actually changes the nature of their meeting.
What do you mean?
It moves the interaction from just a chance encounter, a random bump-in, to a formalized plan to connect in the future. It's an act of professional commitment.
And most importantly for Nick in that moment, it gave him the perfect excuse. A reason to be talking to her right then, just before he had to admit he'd forgotten her name. The business language temporarily covered up the social mistake.
Okay, now for the absolute star of the show. The phrase, slipped my mind. Our source material notes that it sounds a little weird, maybe a bit funny or poetic, but it is absolutely essential for conversational fluency.
It really is. It's the specific phrase you use to apologize for or confess to accidentally forgetting something. And linguistically, it's interesting, right? It uses the idea of your mind as a container.
And the information can just slip out.
Exactly. And that mechanism is crucial because it implies the forgetting was completely involuntary. You're basically blaming the process of memory itself, not your own character or intentions.
That distinction is everything. If Nick had said, I forgot your name, it sounds like negligence. It sounds like he failed.
But when he says your name has just slipped my mind, it's more like an unfortunate system error. It's I failed versus the system failed me. It softens the entire confession.
Dramatically. Let's look at the examples the source gave, because they show just how versatile this phrase is for both big and small memory lapses.
Go for it.
So you have a common professional slip-up. I forgot to respond to your email. It just slipped my mind. Totally forgivable. We all get swamped with email.
Okay, but then they escalate the social stakes a lot. The second example, oh, it's your birthday. It completely slipped my mind.
Oof, that's a bad one.
It's a bad one, but notice the addition of completely. That adverb is doing important work. It amplifies the failure, showing you understand how significant your mistake was.
You have to add that for a birthday.
You really do. And the third example is more about everyday personal stuff. I forgot I had a dentist appointment this afternoon. It must have slipped my mind.
So it works across professional tasks, major social events, and your own personal schedule. It really is the perfect, universally understood excuse for an accidental mental failure.
If you're learning high-level English, you have to get this one down. It gives you permission to be human, to make mistakes, without coming across as careless or irresponsible.
It's also interesting grammatically, it's a passive construction, isn't it? The name slipped from the mind rather than I dropped the name from my mind.
Yes, it removes the speaker's agency, which is the whole point. It's so much warmer and more polite than a more formal alternative like, it escaped me. That can sound a bit cold.
A bit stuffy, yeah. Slip my mind is just right.
All right, so now we're moving into what I think is the realm of true fluency. This is the ability to take basic language and just tweak it slightly to communicate nuance and context.
The subtle stuff.
The subtle stuff.
Let's start with location, which was a big part of Nick and Anna's opening chat. When Nick asks, do you live around here? He's asking if she lives nearby in the general area.
Right. Around here sets a pretty general boundary. This neighborhood, this part of town. You might ask, is there a good coffee shop around here? It's simple, it's clear, it's broad.
But fluent speakers, they rarely just stick to the simplest version of a phrase, do they?
No, we manipulate it constantly to show different levels of closeness or to frame the location in a different way.
And the first and maybe most useful modification our source pointed out is when you want to be more specific. Right around the corner.
Yes. And this doesn't literally mean on the very next street corner. It just implies it's super close, very nearby, maybe a 2-minute walk.
It's a crucial distinction. If you're recommending a restaurant, you probably wouldn't say, there's a good place around here.
No, you'd say, oh, there's a great little Italian place right around the corner. That word right, it acts as an intensifier. It signals immediate, easy access.
It sets an expectation. If you tell someone something is right around the corner and it's a 20-minute walk, you've kind of broken a social contract.
You have. So mastering that tiny addition of the word right is a huge signal of a fluent, natural conversational rhythm.
Okay, so the second variation goes in the other direction. It becomes more general, around there.
Exactly. This is used to talk about being in the general area of a bigger, known location, and it's usually a place that's far from where you are right now.
And the example from the source is perfect for this. Los Angeles is a great city. I used to live around there.
Right. You're not saying you lived in downtown LA, you're saying you lived in the vicinity, maybe a suburb, maybe a nearby town. For the conversation, the exact details don't matter.
So around there works for that general regional context.
It demonstrates mastery because you're efficiently communicating a complex spatial idea. You're shifting from a specific point to a general region. And you do it just by changing one or two little words.
So we go from hyper-specific right around the corner to general local around here to broad regional around there.
And that fluidity, that is what separates a proficient speaker from a truly fluent one.
And this brings us right back to Anna and her incredible social grace. When she let Nick off the hook, she used that phrase, "I'm terrible with names, too." The phrase "terrible with" is just so incredibly useful for admitting a specific personal weakness.
It's the ultimate tool for what you could call strategic self-deprecation.
Strategic self-deprecation, I like that.
It works because it encourages an immediate connection. We're all terrible with something, so it sets a really low expectation for one narrow skill, and by doing that, it excuses any mistakes you might make. It's like a preemptive defense.
Let's run through all the examples the source gave, because it really shows how broad this phrase's application is. It's not just about names.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, first, cognitive skills. You're terrible with numbers. You can't even remember your own telephone number. So that covers math, data, logic.
Right.
Then spatial skills. I'm terrible with directions. I'm always getting lost, which I think a lot of us can relate to.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very common one.
Then there's the memory one from the dialogue. I'm terrible with faces. I can never remember what people look like. A bit different from names, but still about recalling personal data.
And then the final one.
Technical skills. Every time I turn on the computer, something happens. I'm terrible with technology.
So what's the common thread there? Numbers, directions, faces, technology. They seem pretty different on the surface.
The common thread, I think, is a kind of systematic processing. When people say they're terrible with these things, they often mean they feel overwhelmed by a system.
That's a great insight.
Yeah, like I'm terrible with directions means my brain doesn't process spatial data, the map, very well. It's a specific, almost quantifiable failure.
Precisely. And by limiting the failure to that one specific area, you protect your general reputation for being competent or intelligent.
Right. It's like saying, I'm a smart person, but my internal GPS is broken. Or I'm capable, but this software interface just defeats me.
And the source material made this so relatable with that little personal aside from the host, who said something like, I'm also terrible with numbers. I can barely add 2 + 2.
Yeah, that exaggeration just highlights the humor in it, the commonality. It makes the whole concept feel more human, and it totally validates Anna's choice to use it in the dialogue. It builds instant solidarity. Okay, so we've covered the specific phrases for managing time and memory. Now let's talk about pure fluency, the little things that make you sound effortless and natural.
The conversational glue.
Exactly. We have to go back to the very first line of the dialogue. Anna's, Nick, how's it going?
Yes. The source material really emphasized how different this is from the greetings you often learn in a textbook.
Right, textbooks love, how are you, or how are you doing?
Yep.
And those are fine, they're perfectly correct, but they carry a slightly different social weight.
They do. As the source points out, how's it going just sounds, well, really natural. It's much more casual.
I think the difference is also about the expected length of the answer.
Tell me more about that.
How are you? Seems to prompt a slightly more detailed response, even if the answer is just the standard, fine, thanks, how's it going, feels more like it. It's the ultimate conversational shorthand. It implies less expectation for a real answer.
It's more of a quick acknowledgement. It lets you flow right into the next topic of conversation.
It sets the pace. When you run into someone unexpectedly, you need a quick, light greeting to bridge that moment of surprise. Hey, how's it going? It's just so efficient. It signals that this is probably going to be a brief chat.
And if we tie this back to the bigger picture of fluency, it's all about using the most efficient and context-appropriate phrase. The grammatical difference between how are you and how's it going is tiny.
But the social difference is huge.
Immense. Mastering how's it going is a shortcut to sounding like a native speaker in these kinds of unexpected social moments. It shows you get the rhythm of a chance meeting.
So, this entire deep dive has really been building up to solving that universal problem Nick faced. His confession, "Your name has just slipped my mind," was brave. But what are the actual practical strategies from the source material to either avoid that moment or to recover from it?
The source gave two really interesting and contrasting strategies. One is for sort of low-stakes social recovery, and the other is for high-stakes professional recovery.
Okay, let's start with the low-stakes one. This was the social family embarrassment story.
Right, from one of the hosts. It was about forgetting the name of Uncle John at a family reunion because they hadn't seen him in years.
This shows how much we rely on our immediate social network for help. The quick fix was just to ask a cousin nearby for the name.
But the more interesting part was the fallback plan. When they couldn't ask, they just resorted to calling him Uncle.
Which is fascinating because it confirms that sometimes the best social strategy isn't recovering the lost data point, the name. It's finding a linguistic substitute that still works.
It's a cheat code.
It is. Calling him uncle maintains the relationship, it shows respect, but it doesn't require the specific memory.
The big downside there, of course, is that the substitute has to be appropriate for the context. You can call your uncle uncle. You can't really call your client sir or ma'am over and over again.
No, that would get weird really fast. Which confirms that in a professional setting, you need a different, more systematic tactic.
Which brings us to the high-stakes strategy, the business trick.
Right. The recommended technique here is simple but effective. Ask for their business card or ask them to write down their email address.
It's a stealth maneuver. You're using a normal business activity exchanging contact details as a cover story for retrieving the name.
Because the name will be right there on the card or spelled out in the email address. It's clever, but I don't know. I'm not sure it's always the best move.
Oh, why not?
Well, what's the bigger risk? Admitting you forgot their name or getting caught trying to trick them into giving you their name.
That's a fair point.
If they don't have a card on them or if they suspect what you're doing, the whole thing could become even more awkward than just apologizing.
I think the risk depends on how formal the interaction is. At a conference, asking for a card is totally normal, expected behavior. The cover story is solid.
And Nick did it perfectly, didn't he? He offered his card first.
Exactly. That's the key. By offering his card, he signals a genuine intent for future contact. That makes the whole exchange feel legitimate and reciprocal, not like a desperate information grab.
So the card trick is safer if you, the person who forgot, initiate the exchange.
I think so. The real value of the business trick is that it gets you the name without you ever having to confess the memory lapse. It completely preserves your professional face.
Whereas the slip my mind approach, while it's honest and can work really well, it does require that moment of vulnerability.
Right.
So maybe the best strategy is to have both in your toolkit. If the moment feels casual and you're comfortable, be honest like Nick was. If it's high stakes and you have the chance, use the stealth maneuver.
And that is the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? Fluency isn't about having just one script. It's about having a whole toolbox of social tactics that you can tailor to the exact level of risk and formality you're facing.
This has been a true deep dive into the language of social grace and recovery. It really proves that even a structured language lesson can hide these profound insights into how we interact.
You really can.
We've mastered some core ideas about managing urgency in a bit of a hurry, and hopefully built some confidence in handling that universal embarrassment of forgetting a name, thanks to phrases like "slipped my mind."
I think the real value in analyzing this kind of material is that it gives us knowledge about the architecture of human communication. It's not just about grammar. It's social tactics. It's emotional damage control.
It's about using precise language to smooth over our very common human failings.
Exactly. We learned that even when you forget something important, the right words, like Anna's gracious, face-saving, "I'm terrible with names too," can completely salvage the situation.
It can even strengthen the connection, right? By showing some shared vulnerability.
Absolutely. And that observation leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with today.
Yep.
This discussion showed us that forgetting a name is so common, so universal, that we've developed these social scripts, like Anna's, that are just ready to be deployed, which raises a bigger question.
What other common minor social embarrassments do we have these scripts for?
Exactly. Things like accidentally interrupting someone important or walking into the wrong meeting room. What are the specific pre-programmed phrases or actions that we unconsciously use to navigate those moments?
And if high-level fluency is really about managing human failure with grace, How essential is it for every English learner to master not just vocabulary, but these entire social recovery scripts?
Something to think about the next time you hear yourself or someone else recover from a little mistake with what sounds like effortless grace.
Thank you so much for joining us for this analysis of linguistic mechanics and the very subtle art of social finesse.
It was a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.